So the AFC West, a division which a lot of people think is going to make history this year. Every team finishing above 500. Now, admittedly, that's history that is much easier to make now that you can go 9-8 instead of 8-8. And there are a bunch of seasons where the fourth place team did go 8-8 in a single division. But the strengthening across the board, I think in Denver, the obvious thing being getting a quarterback finally, but also from a coaching perspective, I like a lot of what they did. The Chargers went out and reacted to what everyone else was doing and went, fine, well, we're going to get a bookend pass rusher to be as good as the guy on the other side, and we're going to improve our secondary. So enjoy that. The Chiefs have still got Mahomes. The Chiefs have still got Andy Reid. The Chiefs have still got a lot of things that make them the team that have been to back-to-back AFC Championship games. And the Raiders, I mean, they were spicy last year, and I still think people expect them to be the same this year. Maybe they won't all go above 500, but I've been saying this all off-season. Slap every game on primetime for me. But I'm going to finally do it. Simon, I'm finally going to say it, that the injuries are going to pervade them, that Brandon Staley's performance is going to be high enough and of good enough quality that Justin Herbert is just an absolute top tier, best in the NFL type talent, and the Chargers are finally going to win this division. Finally going to be AFC West champions.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is how I play the AFC West, right? I start off with the Chiefs are going to win the division. Yeah, they got Andy Reid coming back, Mahomes is coming back. You know, all the guys are coming back in terms of those offensive weapons, except for Tyreek Hill, and that's a massive except. And then you look at defense, and all the guys except for Tyrann Mathieu, and that's a big except. So you think, oh, maybe the Chiefs aren't going to win it because how are they going to? So it's going to be the Broncos, right? Because they've got Russell Wilson and they've got all these things, and then you think, it's the Broncos, though. Are they really? You know, Javonte Williams is a great running back, and defensively, Justin Simmons is the best safety in the league, but. Are they going to, what are the, it's the Raiders. It's got to be the Raiders, right? So I think it's going to be the Raiders. Okay, it's going to be the Raiders. Then you think, is it going to be the Raiders, though? Because the Chargers are out there, and they've got Justin Herbert, who, is top 3, top 5 quarterback, and is entering into the realm of new contract, is approaching, for nobody's thrown more touchdowns, nobody's thrown for more yards in their first 2 seasons than Justin Herbert has. So it's got to be the Chargers, right? And then you think, oh, no, they've got Brandon Staley as their head coach. Back round to the Chiefs again. So I'm literally on this kind of AFC West bicycle, and I don't know what stop to get off at.
I think the Russell Wilson thing for me is as interesting as any. And, anyone who's listened to this podcast before this year will know that there is a history of conversation around Russell Wilson, which may be or may not be biased around my support of a team within the division when he was a Seattle Seahawk. But
you hated him, Will. Just be honest.
It's so cheesy. Such a cheesy man. There are limitations to his game in that he holds onto the ball for very long, in that he doesn't throw over the middle particularly well, that he doesn't release the ball quickly. Like, even with people want to compare him and Aaron Rodgers.
Underselling Russell Wilson, mate.
No, right. I'm going to be clear on this. I just want to say these are the things that people don't necessarily talk about. I still think he's an absolutely top-tier quarterback. My question mark is, how much of that was the scheme in Seattle? How much of that was the coaching in Seattle? How much of that was... And then Nathaniel Hackett comes in, and I'm doing the same thing you did, where I question myself with every turn. But Nathaniel Hackett comes in, and everyone wants to compare him to Aaron Rodgers because they throw a really nice deep ball and they like to scramble a lot. But the other thing Aaron Rodgers can do is get the ball out quick when he needs to. And we've not seen a lot of that from Russell Wilson. But again, how much of that was Seattle? So I'm not saying Russell Wilson's going to be bad. I just think it's one of the biggest and most intriguing question marks for me coming into the season, is I want to see how good he is or isn't when given a new situation, a new line, new weapons, everything else, because we can clearly see that he can elevate a team and he can go out and win games and he can make ridiculous throws that very few other people in the NFL can make. Were they problems because of Seattle, or were they problems partially because of Wilson? And that, for me, is the great thing in this division. I just think the Chargers and Chiefs are both going to be great. Barring injury, they're both going to be great teams. The Broncos sit anywhere between 10-7, 11-6, down to a 7-9 type team to me, depending on what Russell Wilson does.
I would say this about Russell Wilson and the Broncos, right? I think that Russell Wilson's body of work over the past 10, 12 years makes him one of the top 3 quarterbacks of that decade, right? Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. Yes, obviously Patrick Mahomes has been, but in terms of slightly younger, newer, I think in terms of what Wilson has done, I then think you have to look at the categorization of what he did it without. Not amazing targets at receiver, not a great offensive line. right? You look at the four core key cornerstones or core keystones that you look for in football.
Doesn't he play for the Chargers?
I think he does. Yeah, I think he does. Brandon Staley cut him, I think, the other day. You're looking at quarterback, right? You've obviously got a quarterback in Russell Wilson. You've got a Hall of Fame quarterback in Russell Wilson. Left tackle, right? You've got a really good left tackle in Garrett Bowles, who developed into one of the best left tackles in the NFL after a couple of rough seasons. Can he rush the passer? Right? You've got Bradley Chubb, okay, who, if he's healthy, could be really special. But you throw in Nick Bonito, who I absolutely loved coming out of Oklahoma. You throw in Randy Gregory, who was an agent of chaos for the Dallas Cowboys. Can he stay, off the field, some of those issues? But, they can definitely rush the passer. Can they play in the secondary? Well, they've got a really good young cornerback in Patrick Surtain. They've got the best safety in the league in Justin Simmons. Caden Stearns played very well last year. They've got strong special teams, great kicking game with McManus. So, yes, there are some issues around newness for Russell Wilson, but he's got what he didn't have in Denver, which is a great offensive line. He's got weapons, not a great offensive line, a good offensive line. He's got weapons at the receiver position, Hamler, Judy, Sutton, Jalen Vigil. He's got a great running game, three-headed running game. Throw Mike Boone in. He's got a three-headed running game, but definitely a two-headed running game with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. I think that when we get to the end of the season and Russell Wilson is the MVP, we will say, how did we miss this in the preseason?
I absolutely think that is the ceiling. He could be that good. I also think that the line in Seattle was full of first and second round picks with a lot of talent.
But they did have a. That's the thing.
But how easy is it to play in front of a quarterback who does scramble off and who does get out of the pocket, who does? I'm saying I'm blaming coaching more than talent, is my point. Rashad Penny looked like an absolute superstar for the last 6-7 games of last year. Was that in there and we never saw it before? And you say about receivers, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, it's like a 1-2 punch.
But historically, they were not great. And also, one of the great things I think...
But then he's had his worst few seasons in Seattle in the last 3 seasons when he's had all that around him.
But he also had the injury, don't forget. I mean, he was injured, took a lot, never missed a single game. And I also think that with Wilson... I don't agree that, one thing that I thought he did almost to the detriment of his ability was not bail the pocket. He's such a good runner, but I don't think he bailed the pocket until absolutely necessary. I just think the league has got all these brand new shiny toys, the Allens and the Herberts and the Burrows and the Mahomeses. And I just think, forgot about Russ.
Don't forget Russ.
Don't forget Russ, I think
all right.
People might be...
There's part of me now that he's out of the division that I do hope that for the sake of the quality of the league, I'd love to see him come in and have a stunning season there and turn the Broncos into a contender. There's a lot of Broncos fans out there I like, including the one who's currently sat silently on this call. Look, all in all, I think there is every chance he's brilliant.